Chapter 1. In the early years, our protagonist, Johnny Prism, was a music-obsessed kid with dreams of fame and fortune, especially idolizing the Divas and their lead singer, Sassy Diva. Chapter 1. In the early years, Johnny Prism sat in his childhood bedroom, surrounded by posters of his musical idols, the Divas. Their lead singer, Sassy Diva, was his ultimate inspiration, and he often found himself daydreaming about being on stage, commanding the crowd just like she did. "Johnny, are you still obsessing over those divas?" his mom called from downstairs. Johnny rolled his eyes, knowing his mom just didn't understand his passion for music. "They're not just any band, Mom. They're legends." As he sat there, strumming his air guitar and belting out the divas' hits, he couldn't help but imagine himself up on that stage, living out his wildest dreams. Fast forward a few years, Johnny was now a teenager with aspirations of making it big in the music industry. He had even started his own band, the Prismatics, with his friends from school. They spent hours in his garage, practicing and perfecting their sound, all in the hopes of one day getting discovered. One day, while scrolling through social media, Johnny stumbled upon a post about the Divas coming to town for a concert. His heart raced with excitement as he realized this could be his chance to finally see his idols live in concert. "Guys, we have to go to this concert," Johnny exclaimed to his bandmates. "This could be our big break." After convincing his friends to pool together their allowance money for tickets, they finally made it to the concert venue. The energy was electric as the Divas took the stage, and Johnny couldn't contain his excitement. As the concert went on, Johnny couldn't help but feel a sense of awe and admiration for Sassy Diva and the rest of the band. Their music moved him in a way nothing else could, and he knew deep down that this was where he belonged. After the concert, Johnny and his friends waited by the stage door, hoping to catch a glimpse of the Divas. As they chatted excitedly amongst themselves, a security guard approached them. "Sorry, kids, but no one is allowed backstage," the guard said sternly. But just as they were about to give up hope, a voice called out from behind them. "Let them through." Turning around, Johnny's heart nearly stopped as he saw Sassy Diva herself standing there, a glimmer of amusement in her eyes. "Come on, boys. Let's have a chat," she said with a smirk. And just like that, Johnny's life was about to change forever as he embarked on a journey with the Divas that he never could have imagined in his wildest dreams. Stay tuned for the next chapter as Johnny navigates the glamorous, dramatic, and downright shady world of the music industry with his newfound mentors and friends, the Divas. Chapter 2. Crossing paths with the Divas, Johnny Prism miraculously gets the chance to work with the Divas, but quickly realizes that behind the glamour and stardom lies a world of drama and ego clashes. Chapter 2. Crossing paths with the Divas. As Jonathan Turner walked into the glittering hall where the Divas were rehearsing for their upcoming tour, he felt a mixture of excitement and nerves. This was the moment he had been waiting for, the chance to work with his idols and be a part of the glamorous world of music and fame. As he introduced himself to the group, he couldn't help but feel a rush of adrenaline as he shook hands with Carla Ross, Maria Wilson, and Felicia Ballard. Carla, with her undeniable charisma and commanding presence, exuded a sense of power that was both intimidating and alluring. Maria, on the other hand, had a warm smile and a gentle demeanor that immediately put Jonathan at ease. And then there was Felicia, whose eyes held a hint of sadness and vulnerability that tugged at his heartstrings. The rehearsals were a whirlwind of music, dance routines, and wardrobe changes, and Jonathan found himself swept up in the excitement of it all. But amidst the glamour and stardom, he soon began to notice the undercurrents of drama and ego clashes that simmered beneath the surface. One day, as he was fetching coffee for the group, he overheard Carla and Felicia engaged in a heated argument backstage. Their voices rose in a cacophony of accusations and insults, and Jonathan couldn't help but gulp nervously as he listened in on the juicy gossip. "I can't believe you would betray me like this, Carla." Felicia's voice cracked with emotion, her eyes brimming with tears. "You promised me you would support me, but instead, you've been going behind my back and trying to sabotage me." Carla, her eyes flashing with anger, retorted, "I have worked hard to get to where I am, Felicia. I can't let anyone stand in the way of my success, not even you. If you can't handle it, then maybe it's time for you to leave the group." The tension in the room was palpable, and Jonathan felt like he had stumbled into a soap opera set instead of a rehearsal space. As the argument escalated, Maria stepped in to try and defuse the situation, her voice soothing and calm as she tried to mediate between her feuding bandmates. "Hold on, ladies," Maria said, her tone firm but gentle. We are a team, and we need to work together if we want to put on the best show possible. Let's take a step back and talk this out like adults, okay? Eventually, the argument died down, and the group managed to finish the rehearsal without any further drama. But the tension lingered in the air, casting a shadow over what was supposed to be a joyous and exciting time. As Jonathan reflected on the day's events, he couldn't help but wonder what lay ahead for the Divas and himself. Would they be able to put aside their differences and come together as a united front? Or would the drama and ego clashes tear them apart before they even had a chance to shine on stage? One thing was for sure, Jonathan was in for a wild ride with the Divas, and he was determined to make the most of it, no matter what challenges lay in his path. Chapter 3. Touring life exposes Johnny Prism to the harsh realities of life on the road with the Divas, including diva tantrums, late-night scandals, and wardrobe malfunctions. As Johnny Prism embarked on his touring life with the Divas, he quickly realized that life on the road was not all glitz and glamour. The diva tantrums, late-night scandals, and wardrobe malfunctions made for a chaotic and unpredictable journey. The first night on tour was an eye-opener for Johnny as he witnessed Carla Ross throwing a diva tantrum over her dressing room not being up to her standards. "I demand silk curtains and white roses in my dressing room. This is unacceptable," Carla screeched, sending the staff scrambling to fulfill her outrageous demands. Late-night scandals were a common occurrence on the tour, with Johnny finding himself caught in the middle of juicy gossip and shady dealings. Maria Wilson was rumored to be secretly dating a famous actor, while Felicia Ballard was spotted sneaking out of the hotel with a mysterious stranger. Wardrobe malfunctions became a regular occurrence for the Divas, with sequins falling off costumes mid-performance and heels breaking on stage. Johnny found himself the designated wardrobe fixer, sewing and gluing costumes back together in a frantic rush to keep the show running smoothly. Despite the chaos and drama, Johnny couldn't help but be entertained by the mess that unfolded on tour. The Divas, larger-than-life personalities and their over-the-top antics made for a wild and unforgettable experience. As the tour continued, Johnny found himself caught up in a whirlwind of high-stakes drama and outrageous behavior. From diva tantrums to scandalous gossip, life on the road with the Divas was anything but boring. And though he often found himself in the middle of the chaos, Johnny couldn't deny that he was living the adventure of a lifetime. Chapter 4. Sassy Diva's rise to superstardom puts a strain on the group dynamic, with Johnny Prism caught in the middle of her power play and the other Divas' envy. Chapter 4. Sassy Diva's rise to superstardom. As the Divas continued to rise in popularity, it was clear that Carla Ross was the shining star of the group. Her charm, charisma, and undeniable talent captured the hearts of fans worldwide. With each performance, Carla seemed to sparkle even brighter, leaving the other Divas in her shadow. Johnny Prism, the group's manager, found himself caught in the middle of Carla's power play and the simmering envy from the other Divas. Maria Wilson, the level-headed member of the group, tried to maintain harmony, but the tension was palpable. Felicia Ballard, once a powerhouse in her own right, struggled to come to terms with being relegated to the sidelines by Carla's meteoric rise. One day, during a rehearsal for an upcoming concert, the group dynamic reached a breaking point. As they practiced their choreography, Carla took center stage, effortlessly stealing the spotlight with her captivating presence. Felicia, growing increasingly frustrated, muttered under her breath, "She's acting like a sassy diva, hogging all the attention." Johnny Prism overheard Felicia's comment and tried to defuse the situation. "Come on, ladies, let's remember we're a team. We need to work together to put on the best show possible," he urged, attempting to keep the peace. But Carla, reveling in her newfound fame, couldn't resist a playful jab. "Oh, I'm sorry, are my star qualities blinding you all? It's not my fault I'm the one everyone wants to see," she teased, flashing a dazzling smile. Maria, ever the diplomat, stepped in to smooth things over. "We all bring something unique to the group. Let's celebrate each other's talents instead of letting jealousy get in the way," she said, trying to diffuse the tension. Despite Maria's attempt to bring harmony back to the group, the rift between the Divas was becoming more apparent. Carla's rise to superstardom had put a strain on their dynamic, with jealousy and resentment bubbling beneath the surface. As they continued to rehearse, the air was thick with tension. Johnny Prism knew that if they didn't find a way to work together, the Divas' future success could be in jeopardy. But as he watched Carla command the stage with effortless grace, he couldn't shake the feeling that her rise to superstardom was just the beginning of a tumultuous journey for the group. The drama and intrigue behind the scenes were just beginning to unfold, and Johnny Prism knew that navigating the world of the Divas would be no easy task. Chapter 5. Drama unfolds as the truth behind Sassy Diva's rise is revealed, leading to Felicia Feather's struggles with addiction and Maria Mirage's hidden anxieties. Chapter 5. Drama unfolds as the truth behind Sassy Diva's rise is revealed, leading to Felicia Feather's struggles with addiction and Maria Mirage's hidden anxieties. As the spotlight continued to shine on Sassy Diva, formerly known as Carla Ross, the truth behind her meteoric rise was beginning to unravel. Jonathan Turner, the ever-observant confidant of the Divas, couldn't help but notice the shady gossip circulating within their inner circle. Rumors swirled about how Sassy Diva had manipulated her way to the top, leaving her former friends and bandmates in her wake. One fateful evening, during a late-night gossip session in their dressing room, the tension reached a boiling point. Felicia Feather, still reeling from her struggles with addiction and feeling overshadowed by Sassy Diva's newfound fame, finally confronted her former friend. "You think you can just waltz in here and steal the spotlight, don't you?" Felicia snarled, her words dripping with venom. "Well, let me tell you something, Sassy. You may have the fame and the fortune now, but we all know the truth behind your rise to stardom." Sassy Diva, her icy facade cracking for a moment, shot back with a cutting remark. "Oh, please. You were always jealous of me, Felicia. You couldn't handle the fact that I was destined for greatness while you wallowed in your own self-pity." The tension in the room was palpable as Maria Mirage, the quiet and seemingly unassuming member of the Divas, finally spoke up. "Enough, both of you. We have a show to do, and we can't let this drama distract us from what really matters." But the damage had been done. The secrets and lies that had been buried for so long were now out in the open, threatening to tear apart the sisterhood that the Divas had once shared. As the drama unfolded, Jonathan Turner couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness. The once unbreakable bond between the Divas was now fractured, and he knew that things would never be the same again. But amidst the chaos and turmoil, he also saw a glimmer of hope. Perhaps, in facing their demons and confronting the truths that had long been buried, the Divas could find a way to rebuild and come out stronger on the other side. As the lights dimmed and the music swelled, the Divas took to the stage once more, ready to show the world that they were more than just a group of talented singers. They were survivors, warriors, and above all, sisters bound by a bond that could withstand even the darkest of storms. And as they belted out their iconic tunes, Jonathan Turner knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, the Divas would always shine bright, like the glittering stars they were born to be. Chapter 6. Maria Mirage takes center stage as the peacemaker in the Divas, but even her soothing presence can't stop the tension from boiling over. Chapter 6. Maria Mirage takes center stage as the peacemaker in the Divas, but even her soothing presence can't stop the tension from boiling over. As the drama within the Divas continued to unfold, Maria Wilson found herself taking on the role of the group's peacekeeper. Known for her calming presence and level-headed demeanor, Maria did her best to keep the other members in check and prevent any major blow-ups from occurring. One day, as the group was preparing for a performance, tensions reached a boiling point between Carla Ross and Felicia Ballard. The two Divas were at each other's throats, arguing over everything from song choices to stage outfits. Maria, sensing the impending disaster, stepped in to defuse the situation. "All right, ladies, let's take a deep breath and try to work this out like the professionals we are," Maria said, her voice steady and soothing. Carla scoffed, rolling her eyes. "Please, Maria, don't act like you're the queen of peace around here. You have your own agenda just like the rest of us." Felicia shot Carla a dirty look before turning to Maria. "She's right, Maria. You may be our anchor, but even you can't stop the storm that's brewing between us." Maria raised an eyebrow, a determined glint in her eye. "I may not have all the answers, but I refuse to let this group fall apart because of petty squabbles. We're stronger together, remember." The tension in the room was palpable as the three women stared each other down. Finally, after a few tense moments, Carla let out a heavy sigh. "Fine, Maria, you win. But don't think this is over," Carla mumbled, crossing her arms in defiance. Maria gave her a knowing look before turning to Felicia. "And you, Felicia, we need your voice just as much as Carla's. Let's put our differences aside and focus on the music, okay?" Felicia nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. "You're right, Maria. We're all in this together, after all." With Maria's guidance, the group managed to patch things up and focus on their upcoming performance. As they took the stage that night, their voices blended harmoniously, proving that even in the midst of chaos, the Divas could still shine brightly. Despite the drama and the egos clashing, Maria Mirage stood as the beacon of hope for the Divas, proving that sometimes, all it takes is a little bit of peace and understanding to keep the show going on. And as the applause roared and the lights dimmed, Maria knew that no matter what challenges they faced, their music would always bring them back together. Chapter 7. The Divas' legacy is tarnished by scandal and betrayal, leaving Johnny Prism to question everything he thought he knew about his idols. Chapter 7. The Divas' legacy is tarnished by scandal and betrayal, leaving Johnny Prism to question everything he thought he knew about his idols. As Johnny Prism flipped through the latest issue of Fame and Fortune magazine, his heart sank as he read the headline that rocked the music world: The Divas' legacy tarnished, scandal and betrayal exposed. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. The once revered trio of Carla Ross, Maria Wilson, and Felicia Ballard was now at the center of a messy scandal that threatened to destroy their legacy. Unable to contain his shock, Johnny picked up the phone and dialed Maria Wilson's number. "Maria, have you seen the news?" he exclaimed as soon as she picked up. Maria's voice sounded strained on the other end of the line. "Yes, Johnny, I have. It's a nightmare. I can't believe this is happening." Johnny paced back and forth in his living room, trying to make sense of the situation. The article detailed allegations of infighting, backstabbing, and shady dealings within the Divas' inner circle. It seemed that their glittering image had been tarnished by greed and manipulation. As he hung up with Maria, Johnny couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. These were the women he had idolized since he was a young boy, and now their reputation was in ruins. He poured himself a stiff drink and sat down, lost in thought. Just then, his phone buzzed with a text from his friend and fellow music enthusiast, Lola. "Have you heard the latest gossip about the Divas?" The message read. Intrigued, Johnny replied, "What's the tea, Lola? Spill it." Lola wasted no time in recounting the juicy details she had heard through the grapevine. Apparently, Carla was caught embezzling money from the group, and Felicia was involved in a steamy love triangle with a high-profile politician. And as for Maria, well, let's just say she had a secret past that is coming back to haunt her. Johnny's jaw dropped as he read Lola's message. The scandal was bigger than he ever imagined, and it seemed like every member of the Divas had skeletons in their closets. He felt a mix of fascination and disappointment as he processed the information. Later that evening, Johnny couldn't sleep as he mulled over the events of the day. The once glamorous world of the Divas now seemed tainted by lies and deceit. He wondered if he had been blind to the truth all along, or if the fame and fortune had simply masked the flaws of his idols. As the dawn broke, Johnny finally drifted off to sleep, his mind still swirling with doubts and questions. The legacy of the Divas had been tarnished, leaving him to ponder what it truly meant to be a fan in a world of scandal and betrayal. Chapter 8. Life after the Divas sees Johnny Prism grappling with the aftermath of his time with the group, trying to find his own voice in a world of lies and manipulation. Chapter 8. Life after the Divas. After the disbandment of the Divas, Johnny Prism found himself at a crossroads. He had spent so much time living in the shadows of Carla Ross, Maria Wilson, and Felicia Ballard, that he wasn't quite sure who he was without the group. He had seen the glamour, the drama, and the manipulation that came with being associated with the Divas, but now he had to navigate life on his own. As Johnny tried to find his footing in the aftermath of his time with the Divas, he found himself constantly questioning his own identity. Was he just a puppet in their game of fame and fortune, or did he have a voice of his own that was worth listening to? He knew he had talent and potential, but he also knew that the music industry could be a cutthroat world filled with lies and deceit. One evening, Johnny found himself at a local bar, drowning his sorrows in a glass of whiskey. He was deep in thought when a familiar voice interrupted his thoughts. "Hey there, Johnny Prism. Fancy seeing you here," said a voice from behind him. Johnny turned around to see Carla Ross standing there, a sly smile on her face. "What are you doing here, Carla?" Johnny asked, a mix of surprise and suspicion in his voice. Carla chuckled, taking a seat next to Johnny. "Oh, just taking a stroll down memory lane. It's been a while since the Divas disbanded, hasn't it?" she said, her tone casual but calculating. Johnny eyed her warily, wondering what game she was playing now. "Yeah, it has been. What brings you here?" he asked, trying to keep his guard up. Carla leaned in closer, her eyes gleaming with mischief. "Oh, just thought I'd check in on my favorite backup singer. See how you're coping without us," she said, her words laced with a hint of mockery. Johnny felt a surge of anger rise within him. He was tired of being belittled by Carla, tired of being treated like a puppet on a string. I'll have you know, Carla, I'm doing just fine without the Divas. In fact, I'm working on my own music now, he said, his voice firm and defiant. Carla raised an eyebrow, a hint of surprise flickering across her face. Is that so? Well, good for you, Johnny. Maybe one day you'll make a name for yourself like we did, she said, her tone dripping with sarcasm. Johnny felt a surge of satisfaction at finally standing up to Carla, but he also knew that the road ahead would be a challenging one. Life after the Divas was a messy, dramatic, and often shady world, but Johnny was determined to find his own voice, no matter what obstacles stood in his way. And as he walked out of the bar that night, he knew that the journey ahead would be one filled with entertaining mess and gossip, but it was a journey he was ready to take on. Chapter 9. Remembering Felicia Feather brings a bittersweet end to Johnny Prism's journey, as he reflects on the lost innocence and broken dreams of the Divas. As Johnny Prism sat in his dimly lit apartment, surrounded by memorabilia from his time with the Divas, he couldn't help but feel a sense of emptiness. The glamorous world of music and fame that he had once been a part of now seemed distant and faded, the harsh reality of broken dreams and lost innocence hitting him like a ton of bricks. He stared at a faded photograph of Felicia Feather, the mysterious and enigmatic member of the Divas who had captured his heart from the moment he laid eyes on her. Her angelic voice and ethereal presence had enchanted him, and he had found himself drawn to her like a moth to a flame. But now, she was gone, lost to the cruel hands of fate and the pressures of the music industry. As he reminisced about Felicia, Johnny couldn't help but feel a pang of regret for not being able to save her from her demons. Her struggles with addiction and depression had been evident to him, yet he had been powerless to help her break free from their grip. The guilt gnawed at him, a constant reminder of the fragility of life and the harsh realities of the world they lived in. Lost in his thoughts, Johnny was startled by a knock on the door. He hesitantly got up and opened it to find Maria Wilson standing in front of him, a somber expression on her face. Hey, Johnny, she greeted softly, her voice filled with sadness. Maria, what are you doing here? Johnny asked, surprised to see her at his doorstep. Maria was known for her resilience and strength, a pillar of support for the group during their tumultuous years together. I just wanted to talk to you, Johnny, Maria replied, her eyes brimming with tears. I can't shake the feeling that we let Felicia down. We could have done more to help her, to save her from herself. Johnny sighed, feeling the weight of Maria's words pressing down on him. I know, Maria, I feel the same way. Felicia was a lost soul, and we couldn't reach her in time. But we can't blame ourselves for what happened to her. We did our best, given the circumstances. Their conversation turned into a heartfelt discussion about Felicia's legacy and the impact she had on their lives. They shared stories and memories of her, reminiscing about her quirky sense of humor and her infectious laughter. Despite the bittersweetness of their words, a sense of comfort washed over them as they remembered the good times they had shared with Felicia. As Maria bid Johnny farewell and left his apartment, Johnny was left with a sense of closure and acceptance. Felicia's memory would forever live on in their hearts, a poignant reminder of the fragility of life and the bonds of friendship that had once held them together. And as Johnny gazed at the photograph of Felicia Feather, a bittersweet smile tugged at his lips. The journey with the Divas may have come to an end, but the memories they had created together would always remain etched in his heart, a testament to the enduring power of music, friendship, and the bittersweet beauty of a life well lived. Chapter 10. In the final thoughts, Johnny Prism comes to terms with the harsh reality of the music industry, finding solace in the memories of his time with the Divas, despite the sad ending. In the final thoughts chapter of All That Glitters, My Journey with the Divas, Johnny Prism finds himself at a crossroads as he reflects on his time in the music industry. Sitting in his dimly lit apartment, surrounded by memorabilia from his days with the Divas, he can't help but feel a sense of melancholy creeping in. As he sips on a glass of whiskey, Johnny reminisces about the highs and lows of his career. The fame, the fortune, the glamour, it all seemed so enticing at first. But now, as he looks back on the shattered dreams and broken promises, he can't help but feel a twinge of regret. Suddenly, his phone rings, interrupting his train of thought. It's Maria Wilson, the former member of the Divas and his close friend. Hey Johnny, just checking in on you. How are you holding up? Maria's voice is warm and comforting, like a ray of sunshine on a rainy day. Johnny sighs, grateful for Maria's friendship. I'm hanging in there, Maria. Just thinking about the good old days with the Divas. Maria chuckles softly. Ah, the good old days indeed. Remember that time Carla accidentally dyed her hair purple before a show? We had to cover it up with a wig, and she ended up looking like a disco queen gone wrong. Johnny can't help but laugh at the memory. The antics of Carla, the diva of all divas, always kept them on their toes. Oh man, those were the days. I miss the chaos, the laughter, the shady gossip backstage. Maria's voice turned somber. I miss Felicia, you know. She was the heart and soul of our group. Her demons may have consumed her in the end, but she'll always hold a special place in our hearts. Johnny's heart aches at the mention of Felicia. Her struggles with addiction and depression had haunted them all, and her untimely death had left a void that could never be filled. Yeah, Felicia was one of a kind. We were a hot mess, but we were a family. As the conversation with Maria comes to an end, Johnny feels a sense of peace wash over him. Despite the harsh realities of the music industry, the memories of his time with the Divas bring him solace. The laughter, the tears, the drama, it was all part of the journey. Raising his glass in a silent toast to the past, Johnny whispers to himself, here's to the divas, the legends we once were. May we never forget the magic we created, the music we shared, and the bond that will forever unite us. All that glitters may not be gold, but our memories will always shine bright. And with that, Johnny Prism closes the chapter on his storied past, ready to embrace whatever the future may hold.